As we conclude the 2026 or January 2026 judicial four-party consultation, I would like to begin by thanking my colleague ministers of justice from the Netherlands, Aruba, and the acting Minister of Justice of Curaçao, and of course, all members of your delegations. Your presence here in St. Martin this week was not only appreciated, but it was essential that the progress that we have made essential to the progress we have made together. This EAVO was about more than meetings and protocols. It was about partnership. It was about reaffirming that as four countries within one kingdom, we share not only responsibilities, but a common vision for justice, safety, and the rule of law. I also want to acknowledge that despite recent geopolitical developments in the region, all four countries are represented here this week. That in itself speaks volumes. It reflects flexibility, shared responsibility, and a clear commitment to the work that unites us. Even in moments of uncertainty, cooperation remains our strongest foundation. Over the past 3 days, we addressed issues that cut across borders, from detention and law enforcement to youth crime prevention, border management, data protection, and the fight against organized and undermining crime. These challenges cannot be solved in isolation. They demand trust, transparency, and sustained cooperation across our justice systems. A key moment this week was yesterday's strategic session, a component that we have deliberately reintroduced into the EAVO. It created space for open dialogue on shared priorities and long-term direction. By consciously making room for a strategic reflection, alongside our operational matters, we strengthen coordination, anticipate for emerging risks, and ensure that our decisions are not only practical, but that they're also forward-looking. I'm pleased that we've once again committed to developing this strategic component in the future EAVOs. We have also taken concrete steps to ensure that our justice efforts reflect the realities of our communities, from progress on forensic care and a renewed focus on prevention to strengthening investigative and policing cooperation. We are working toward a justice system that is more coordinated, more resilient, and more people-centered. Earlier this week, Minister Van Oosten and his delegation visited the Point Blanche prison and saw firsthand both the challenges that we face, but also the progress that is underway. The presentation by UNOPS made clear that the new prison construction is not just an infrastructure project. It's a symbol of renewal and of what is possible when we align our priorities and we invest collectively in a safer and fairer future. Before we close, I also wish to acknowledge my colleagues for joining me yesterday at yesterday's groundbreaking ceremony. The fact that we were able to stand there together speaks volumes to the strength of our kingdom partnership. This project can serve as a blueprint, a tangible example of how shared commitment and collaboration can produce long-term solutions that extend beyond national borders and benefit the entire region. As the host of this EAVO, St. Martin is proud to have facilitated discussions that will shape our shared path forward, and I am confident that the outcomes of this consultation and the relationships that we continue to build will strengthen justice, safety, and cooperation across our kingdom. On behalf of my ministry and the people of St. Martin, I thank you once again for your partnership, your engagement, and your presence this week. Together we are stronger, and together we turn dialogue into action and cooperation for the people that we serve. Together, we continue building a kingdom that is rooted in justice, security, trust, and most importantly, mutual respect. Thank you very much.
Minister Teklin, heel veel dank voor de organisatie van dit justitieoverleg de afgelopen 2 dagen. We hebben hele belangrijke discussies met elkaar kunnen voeren, maar bovenal heb ik ontzettend genoten van het feit om te zien hoe hard ook hier op Sint Maarten wordt gewerkt aan onze 4 rechtsstaten. Op alle 4 de plekken van het Koninkrijk, op Curaçao, op Aruba, op Sint Maarten en in Nederland zijn mensen, de teams waarmee wij ook hier naartoe zijn gereisd, maar ook zoveel organisaties die daarachter weer weggaan. Zeg maar de politie, de kustwacht, de brandweer, allemaal actief om te zorgen dat het hier overal veilig is. Dat iedereen kan vertrouwen op de overheid. Dat we weten dat de overheid nooit opgeeft als onze jongeren worden belaagd door georganiseerde criminaliteit. Want dat gebeurt in al onze 4 landen. En daarom, en minister Teklin gaf het al aan, ben ik zelf ontzettend gelukkig met het feit en trots op het feit dat we het afgelopen JVO hebben gesproken over hoe gaan we die georganiseerde criminaliteit met elkaar nog beter bestrijden. Hebben we ook met elkaar afgesproken te bezien of maatregelen die we over en weer in de landen misschien kunnen nemen, waar we van kunnen leren. We noemen dat bestuurlijke maatregelen. Vergelijk het maar met maatregelen die burgemeesters in Nederland kunnen treffen. Of die ook van toegevoegde waarde op de eilanden zouden kunnen zijn. Ontzettend belangrijk om na te gaan hoe we hier nog steviger kunnen acteren om te voorkomen dat onze jonge mensen kapot worden gemaakt door zware criminelen, want dat staan we nooit toe. Daarnaast, en dat staat eigenlijk los van het justitieoverleg, maar heeft minister Teklin ons allemaal meegenomen naar de groundbreaking ceremonie van de aanstaande nieuwe gevangenis. Ik was zeer, zeer onder de indruk van het bezoek aan de gevangenis op Pointe Blanche. Het is voor mij ook de eerste keer dat ik hier op dit prachtige eiland ben. En het is wel heel bijzonder om dan ook te zien dat het hele prachtige plekken heeft, waar ik nu ook op uitkijk, zeg maar, op deze zee. Maar dat er ook een aantal hele spannende zaken hier spelen. En onder meer is dat de huidige gevangenis. En ik ben heel blij dat ook vanuit Nederland het ministerie van Binnenlandse Zaken een financiële bijdrage heeft kunnen leveren om te zorgen, samen met de Verenigde Naties en samen met het land Sint Maarten natuurlijk, dat uitzicht komt op een humane gevangenis, waar ook veel meer detentiecapaciteit in zal zijn dan nu het geval is. En daar heeft Sint Maarten hoge nood aan. Ten slotte wil ik opmerken dat ik ook erg gelukkig ben met het feit dat ik kort een bezoek heb mogen brengen aan het eiland Saba. Dat ligt hier natuurlijk vlakbij. Maar vanuit mijn verantwoordelijkheid als minister van Justitie en Veiligheid heb ik natuurlijk ook een verantwoordelijkheid op dat eiland. Dus ik heb van de gelegenheid gebruik gemaakt om daar ook even contact te hebben met de gezaghebber. Om bij de brandweer mannen en vrouwen langs te gaan, om met de politie in gesprek te zijn. Om met de, zoals we dan in Europees Nederland zeggen, de BOA te praten. En dat gaf op mij een hele goede indruk en ook de overtuiging dat men ook daar heel hard werkt om te zorgen dat het prachtige eiland prachtig blijft en dat criminelen daar geen kans krijgen. Ik wil mijn collega's tenslotte hartelijk bedanken, niet alleen voor het constructieve overleg dat we de afgelopen 2 dagen met elkaar hebben mogen meemaken, maar ook voor de collegialiteit onder elkaar en de gastvrijheid op dit prachtige eiland. Ik hoop zeker, in welke rol dan ook, hier nog een keer terug te komen. Mijn vrouw zegt ook, ja, ze heeft een paar foto's gezien van de uitzichtpunten hier op dit prachtige eiland. En ze zegt, ja, Voort, dit is de laatste keer dat je alleen bent gegaan. De volgende keer gaan we samen. Dus terug kom ik zeker. Of dat als minister is, weet ik niet. Maar ik heb hier zeer genoten. Dank u wel voor de aandacht.
As you may know, we have a common responsibility within the kingdom for certain organizations regarding services, judicial services through the whole kingdom, or at least this part of the Caribbean part of the kingdom. And that's one of the reasons we come together. But it's also very important to realize that when we come together, it's not only because we have a formal obligation to do so, but we also feel a commitment, a genuine commitment, one, to each other, to support each other and to guarantee that, as the colleague from the Netherlands said, the criminals do not get the overhand in our communities. Together, united, we stand much stronger than if we try to do what we are doing individually. We have had some presentations these last days, and I would want to share one with you. It's about development, crime development in the Caribbean. And one of the things that we have seen in this presentation is that even though we might feel that in different of our islands and the island nations, there's a lot of pressure on the justice system, there is crime. I mean, there's crime everywhere in the world, but sometimes we feel that, we do not have enough force to deal with criminals in our society. However, we might feel that, or sometimes experience certain forms of criminality in our societies, we are still mentioned as some of the most, or at least the most, safe islands in the Caribbean. And we are living in times, complicated times, as you may know, at the moment. However, by joining force, we have been able, not only today, but for many years, to uphold a system in which we guarantee a minimum standard of service, a minimum standard of guarantee to safety and security for our communities, and also minimum standard in given the services that should be provided under international law to, for instance, detainees in our society. We are not maybe very happy with a level we feel we should improve. However, we have been able together, because I don't believe that if we have done this individually, we have been successful that the way we are today. So I am very happy to be part of this, these meetings. We look forward to the next meeting that will take place in a few months in Curacao for us to continue working and building together. And in the meantime, when we leave this meeting, there are many other topics that will be discussed ambtelijk by the civil servants, and we'll be preparing for the next meetings. We have committed ourselves to continue to support each other, and we have felt that cooperation by the Netherlands, by one of the other islands, if it's necessary. We are always ready to step in to help each other, and that has been proven over the years. As you might know, I've been Minister of Justice a while in the past, and now I'm back, so I can speak through experience that this is a platform that works for the people of the different islands, and I think that we could be proud that we have the level of commitment that we've seen and growing commitment in the kingdom to guarantee safety and security in the islands. And we would not like to keep you the whole afternoon here. You know, politicians like to talk a lot. However, I would not want to repeat anything the colleagues said also. Just thank you for your presence and thank the colleagues for their presence, their cooperation, ongoing cooperation. Thank you.
On behalf of my colleague, which I represented here, Mr. Hato, he is the Minister of Justice in Curacao. I came on his behalf, and I really enjoy, let's say, to be on St. Martin once more. That's why I'm very glad how St. Martin and Ms. Natalie have treated us very, 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 very good, and very thankful for that. I have worked very hard in this platform, even though it wasn't my field, but I did my best to represent Mr. Hato in this platform, and I want to thank also my two other colleagues who came from abroad to be part of this. Yeah, the point is when you speak the last, the one who went before me have said a lot, but I was thinking, what is the benefit of this platform, JVO? One of the great benefits is that our justice system, so the Dutch or the Dutch Kingdom justice system, is one of the best in the world. And we have to keep that standard, we have to keep that name high. Why? Because our people from, let's say, from the whole kingdom should rely on a good justice system, a fair justice system. But also investors, when they come to one of the islands, you don't want to think, of the investors don't want to think, if I invest, is it a good investment? Do I can get my money or return on investment back? So that is very important for us to maintain that standard of the kingdom, Dutch Kingdom justice system. And we then is the ones who will have to do it, of course, with the whole apparatus, the whole justice, public servants and not public servants, or semi-public servants. We have to maintain that standard very high. And JVO is one of the platforms which helps doing that, to keep that high standard. If you see the discussion that we have these days on St. Martin in the JVO, is very in-depth, very, very professional, and we came up with a lot of good resolutions to keep moving in the direction of maintaining that high standard. Of course, one of the points that we all was concerned that the cost of maintaining that is high. We want to pay it, but the sky is not the limit, of course. So we have to keep maintaining an eye to be more efficient in the different, let's say, sectors of the justice system in the whole Dutch Kingdom. So that's one of the things that will reflect also in the resolutions, the final document that we're going to sign. Saying that, one more, I thank my colleague. I got some new friends. Let's say it's good for me. I like to make friends. And of course, the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd of September, we invite you all to be part of the next AAVO in Curaçao. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister Cooper. The floor is now open for the members of the media to ask questions.
Excellencies, good afternoon. My name is Steven Cyrillian from PGH2 Radio. I'm going to generalize my question by asking each one of you, please, Minister, if you may address in English, I would appreciate that, to summarize the main takeaways from this particular GVO on St. Martin.
You want me to start, Minister? Yes. Well, just to sum up the small speech I gave a few minutes ago, I would say that the most important thing we discussed with each other is to maintain the high standard of the rule of law in the 4 countries we are responsible for, and to make sure that organized crime will not get a place, a stronghold here on St. Maarten or in Curaçao or in Aruba or in the Netherlands, because we have to protect our young people, and we will protect them. And that is why we will continue to search for even better laws than we already have, to make sure that we are able to protect them and that we can rely on reliable police. I've met many police officers here on the island, that we can rely on our fire brigades, that we can rely on, I have to say it in Dutch because I don't know the word in English, the BOA's, the handhaving, and that we can rely on all the organizations involved for keeping this island safe, for keeping all the countries in the kingdom safe. That is what we continue to discuss here, and what I take home with the team I came in St. Maarten. Thank you.
To summarize, I mentioned it a while ago in my first presentation. However, I think I can do it even shorter. There is my takeaway is that there is a commitment, and it's felt by all and expressed also by all the countries of the Dutch Kingdom, that we need to work together, and that by doing so, we are contributing to safety and security on the different islands, and we are supporting the system and maintaining, keeping the system that is can function optimal over a long period. We also realize that safety on the islands is not only important for the citizens of the islands, but it also contributes to the safety on the mainland, the European part of the kingdom. And that's something that's recognized not only by us on the islands, but also the colleagues in the Netherlands. So I think that there is a real commitment. And as I said in the beginning, I started as Minister of Justice 15 years ago, and I've seen the commitment grow. 15 years ago, we worked very hard to get where we are today. However, after a few years coming back in this function, I see that the commitment is real, and that a lot of people are even more than in the days 15 years ago, civil servants are committed to this process. And it's not only meeting each other every 6 months, it's working towards presenting tangible achievements every 6 months. And I think that's, for me, a successful working method, not only for us, but for the whole kingdom. Thank you.
Yes, I already mentioned that in my intervention, but I can repeat very short. For me, my takeaway in this conference is that we reaffirm our commitment to maintain the high standard of our justice system, which is one of the best in the world. And that is, for me, I'm going home back with a tranquil heart, so that we are knowing that the ministers with their respective teams keep working on that in the budget of each country. That is, I have to say that also, because the sky is not the limit, of course. But we are reaffirming our commitment to maintain the one of the best justice systems in the world.
I think the colleagues have summarized it quite well, but I think for me, one of the most important parts is the takeaway that we've recommitted to strategically talking to one another again. Years ago, the YEVIO contained a strategic component. However, over time, that kind of watered down into just really us going through lists and long agendas with 5 or 10 minutes per agenda point, and we've really made the real strong commitment now to say, no, we're going to add an extra day. We're going to sit down. We're going to discuss difficult topics with one another. We're going to have the space and the time to have strategic discussions. And yesterday we saw that for actually 2 hours, we had a wonderful presentation. We spoke about undermining crime, about organized crime within the region, how we can respond to those things as countries together, and that we also recognize that organized crime doesn't know borders and criminals work together. And likewise, we have to reaffirm and recommit to work together because vulnerabilities to my border or to a border in Curacao affect Aruba and vice versa, as Minister Dower said as well. So I think that we've made that commitment. Again, in September, we will be again having an extra day to have those strategic discussions. I think we already have a topic on the table when it comes to that. And of course, we're also looking at strategically as well, how do we contain costs? You know, those are things that, as the colleague said multiple times, the sky isn't the limit. So we also need to look at, you know, where can we take measures within our own countries as well to maintain the costs that we share together when it comes to certain commitments in the area of justice. So I think for me, those would be, to add to that, the more important takeaways.
Good morning, Minister Jacqueline Hoffman from the Daily Herald. Based on court cases in St. Martin, we have the impression that the series of robberies on jewelry stores that have baffled the people of St. Martin in the past months are related to gang crime, organized crime from gangs operating throughout the Caribbean. We have seen it a while ago with the gunning down of a Trinidadian rapper, what is the name, Slumpy Boss in Maho. 3 weeks before his rival was performing on the same stage. These people come into the country. How are the islands, each of the islands, making sure that gang lords cannot enter and travel free from one island to the other?
I think those are exactly assessments that we're making currently in discussions that we did have over the past couple of days as well. And partially also the discussion that we had yesterday on a strategic level, looking at every country actually has something called a CBA, criminaliteitsbeeldanalyse. So we look at what the highest risks are in the individual countries, and what we're working on in the coming months as well is to tie all of those in together so that we have an interinsular analysis as well as all the different islands. And besides that, what we had yesterday was looking at how does the region and everything around us impact what we are seeing here to help us prepare for those dangers as well. So we are having those discussions, and from the St. Martin point of view, we continue to work very closely with our CARICOM partners and exchange intelligence and information in order to stop these things from happening. Besides that, we of course have larger discussions ongoing in terms of looking how established platforms can contribute more to these bigger problems. If we can show indeed that they are cross-border issues, you know, can we escalate those, run a couple big cases, get extra capacity? So those are, again, you know, commitments that we've made and that we will continue to explore over the various platforms. I don't know if any of the colleagues have anything to add.
Taking into consideration the fact that in your opening remarks, Minister, you spoke of the geopolitical tension within our region, especially the impact of what is happening in Venezuela and the United States. We might see an influx of persons coming to our shores, albeit Curacao, St. Martin, or Aruba. How do you jointly intend to deal with that situation if it arises?
Regarding the influx of foreigners coming to the border, we are working together. In this case, in Kingdom Broad, in assessing the risk that we're facing, and it's an ongoing risk. It's not something new. However, the tensions that arose the last weeks have brought much more attention to the situation, but we are monitoring the situation and we have plans in place to deal with certain scenarios. At this moment, I can inform you that we are not seeing anything different than what we've been seeing the last few weeks. So at this moment, there's no reason for panic in Aruba. At least I can speak for Aruba. But we will continue monitoring the situation, and if it's necessary, we will activate all the facilities and all the services we have to protect the borders to start with it, and if it's necessary to give such services if that's necessary. However, we are not seeing any major changes in the situation regarding migration in the region at the moment.
Yes, from the part of Curacao, I think I can sustain what my colleague of Aruba have said. We don't see much. If you see the numbers that they presented us, the Coast Guard presented today to us, it decreases a lot. People which coming up to 31st of December last year. So if you see, it is a positive, dramatic, positive lowering of the number. People coming via shore, and even via shore from the Coast Guard, and that says something that the Coast Guard is working effectively. So the numbers show that. And I think that's the way we are going to continue, that we have to sustain and just help our Coast Guard to have the tools necessary for them to keep doing the job they are doing, to keep our shores very close to people that coming illegally in our shore. So that is why I think that's why we're going to bet on it, and also not even bet, but put our money where our mouth is, in the sense of our Coast Guard should do the job in maintaining our shore, avoiding illegal people coming into our country.
From the St. Martin side as well, we can echo that as of today, we don't see any changes or any spikes that give us any pause for worry at this point. As my colleague minister said, no need to panic right at this moment, but this is a very fluid situation. It's one that can change at any moment. So of course, within the kingdom and with one another, we will continue to keep an eye on these developments, and if we see unusual patterns, then at that point, re-engage in discussions to see how we can assist one another to ensure that we keep our borders strong. And for Aruba and Curacao, obviously a bigger risk of boats for us as well, people coming in through airports, to be fair, and as well as certain smuggling routes. But we also intend to have discussions with our French counterparts, because they too have a border and an airport, to see what we can do together should we see any spikes and any strange movements. But as of right now, no need to worry.
Minister Teclin, you just said that discussions have led to improvement in forensic care. Could you all elaborate on that? And a specific question to Minister van Ooster. The islands don't have the funds or the expertise to execute TBR or TBS, and as a result, the court hardly ever sentence people to TBR or TBS. It did happen though one time with a young man who murdered someone on St. Martin, and due to the damage to the prison, he was sent to Holland to serve his time in Holland, 8 years with TBR. But Holland decided to send him back after he served the 8 years. Will you help the islands or have discussions in The Hague about helping the islands to have people that are sentenced to TBR or TBS to serve their time in Holland, as this is way too much of an undertaking for the islands?
We are also always in close contact with each other with certain cases, if they are very, very difficult, perhaps. Nevertheless, I also must stress that it is, how do I call it in English, landsbevoegdheid, an authority of the own country to arrange it in a way. And yeah, unfortunately, I must say that also in the Netherlands we do have lots of difficulties on this issue, because at the moment we have I'm not really sure about the numbers, but we have a waiting list, I believe, about 250 persons. So it is difficult also in the Netherlands to make sure that you've got enough place and space for those dealing with these issues. But I think that a very good improvement for the island of Sint Maarten is the arrival of the new prison in a year and a half or so. Of course, that is not the answer to the issue you are addressing me, but nevertheless it is very important because it might give more opportunities also for the island of Sint Maarten, for het land Sint Maarten, to make more strategies about how to deal with youth crimes, for instance. How can you prevent that people are getting even worse in their crime committing? That will be my answer. Thank you.
I think shortly, just to add to that, also part of an example of our Kingdom commitment to this topic is, again, there is a work group when it comes to forensic care, and then TBS-PEI, as we call it. That is actually the result of ongoing enhanced toezicht, or that we're under enhanced supervision that we're under when it comes to the European Court of Human Rights, or actually the Committee of Ministers of the Council of Europe, where I know my colleague in Aruba paid them a visit last December to give an update, and this is actually called the Murray case, and it's one of the reasons that we're working together on a Kingdom level to look at, is it feasible to have a shared institution? How would that work? What would the cost look like? What type of specialized care do we need to offer in an institution like that? So as part of that process, there is a JVO work group, and every JVO, the work group continues to work throughout the year and provides updates to the ministers as we go on. And we're actually in quite far phases now in terms of hiring consultants. And again, this type of work is extremely specialized. We have no one on St. Maarten that's actually capable of doing the work on our behalf. So we're also looking to get a psychiatrist from abroad to represent us in that work group. So these are where we're making steps together as countries. And of course, this will be a longer trajectory, because having an institution like this is not something that, even if we had lots of money on the table here, that we could say, okay, tomorrow we will have one, because we need to come to very clear agreements with one another on what that would look like. So that is ongoing. And when it comes to the new prison facility, as the minister mentioned, we are looking at what type of basic mental health care we can provide. In the coming months, we'll be conducting a baseline study of the mental health needs within the current inmate population, so that we hope that at least a basic level of care can be provided.